Hello, and welcome to another episode of Brains Behind AI. On this episode, we're going to learn about a live streaming yoga platform that uses AI to detect poses. How cool is that? Natalie, I know this is right in your domain and you've used the platform. So, why don't you introduce the product and our guests to the audience?
Absolutely. Well, I'm super excited for this episode. I myself, I've been practicing yoga since 2009. I am a yoga teacher. I've been teaching for about 3 years now, and in particular, corporate companies. So I'm very interested to mix AI with yoga. So I cannot wait to hear what Peter has to say. And a quick background about Peter before we dive right in. Peter Ma is the co founder at MixPose, a live streaming yoga platform that uses AI pose detection in real time. He's part of Intel Software Innovator, ARM Innovator, and NVIDIA AI Innovator. Peter has been a software developer for more than 12 years and has been involved in 5 different startups, not to mention winning more than 100 hackathons. Some of his accomplishments include speaking about mobile apps as TED Global 2010, winning the 2015 AT&T Developer Summit Grand Prize, and also winning the Grand Challenger Award of the United Nations Development Program COVID-19 Challenge. And that's just to name a few. Peter has previously founded Clean Water AI and Dr. Hazel, a skincare AI detection system. Peter graduated from the New Jersey Institute of Technology with a degree in computer science. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Ari. Thanks, Natalie.
So, Peter, before we dive into the company, we want to take a minute to learn about your own personal journey. Where did it all start and what got you into this?
I guess I was sort of like always been an engineer. Ever since I was little, I was playing with the computers, and then my parents was, although we were like lower middle class, but my parents was still trying to get me a computer to play with. It was not cheap back then, and then they got me a laptop and a desktop, and I was like, thinking back then, it's like, wow, this is like sort of the toys I've been playing with ever since I was little. Then when I went in college, obviously, I went into computer engineering, and then it's basically computer science and electrical engineering. When afterwards, you work for a few years, and then I started finding myself winning a lot of hackathons. At some point, I was making more money off my hackathons than my full time job, so I decided to quit my job. And then the people who I win hackathon with usually give me contracts, short term contracts, for building different type of prototypes. So I basically built different prototypes for different companies for a while. And all in a while, basically, you can build your network as well as build people. You always have to have people you go to hackathon with. At the same time, you're always on I would say, like cutting edge technology, because these are like usually unproven technology. So for example, I got in AI on the edge back in 2016, 2017, where nobody else even like heard of the stuff yet. And then back then, you don't know where this stuff is going to take, because some technologies just never, they never really take off. But because of the natural interest in technology, it doesn't really matter for me, because it's like I think one thing that always tell difference between me and others, it was like, hey, like people like, hey, how do I get paid that much? I was like, dude, I get paid whether whether I get paid or not. I work on this anyway. So it doesn't is but the thing is, if you think about it only making money off this stuff, then your natural interest is really not in it. Um, yeah, but at some point, it's like you have to understand that it's like when you see an idea that really fits, and then especially when there's a consensus between a couple of your like the people that I hack with, we basically all decided to quit our jobs. I mean, that's you have to build something that's not just like a quick hack, but rather something that you can build over time and create value in the society.
So, when you decided to go from hackathons to let's go create something of value to society, how did you narrow down the ideas? Where did you start and how did it become MixPose?
So I've been involved in 5 different startups. I've hacked more than like 300 prototypes right now. At some
Mhm.
point, is like you don't really lie to yourself anymore. I mean, you know exactly what people kind of like. Oh, this is like clean water AI. That was a really cool project. I actually try to take that forward too, but there is a fundamental shift in the problem, is that people who can afford it don't need it. People who needs it can't afford it. It's like U.S., Japan, Singapore, like they can afford it. They don't really need this stuff. You chlorinate the water, you filter the water, and then that's it, right? And then people in Africa who cannot, they actually need this stuff to detect where all the contamination come from. They can't really afford it. Even at $200 per device, it was like I'm not even making money off this, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have to give them money and device. You're like, okay, I'm not an NGO. That is not something I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I open source the technology. Whoever wants to build it, just take on, just take it on. And China was one of the interesting place where is the only cross section between who can afford it and who needs it. And then the
Mhm.
trade war started back in 2019. So the China, like I said, because we were in talk with this Chinese filter company, and in 2019, 2018, they were selling to the local government, right? As this is American technology. And 2019, they switched back. They're like, oh, they can't import any American
Mm-hmm.
technology, and they have to phase out Microsoft Windows in 2 3 years. So you have this entire different approach on things. And 2020 obviously is much worse relationship because it was like, okay, now like you sort of really like ruined my like that's the only place where they can pay me money. I can actually make money while doing this, right? Like every other place is like, oh, can you implement it? Um, how much does it cost? And you're like, dude, it's just like it's not something. I mean, how much budget do you have? I mean, we can't just use one or two of these clean water AI machines. You need like
Mm-hmm.
cluster of it so you can get data from all of it. There's AI on the edge and there's AI on the server. This is like you both kind of work together to get a water quality, right? So you can
Mhm.
mapping out the quality of the water. I'm like, and either when both system cost money, and it both cost money for installation, maintenance as well as just development. And that was like it was like so you always you have to at some point it's like you kind of at some point you have to see whether like you have a sense of feeling that whether there is market feedback, and then you validate upon market feedback, and then you go forward. It's like hey
Mhm.
and there's a consensus you can't do this yourself. So there's got to have
Mhm.
consensus of people that you actually trust, and they are willing to put their not just money, their life on the line as well. They're like, okay, they're gonna quit their jobs. So now you're like, okay, now we're being serious. We have to create a company out of this, and this is what we're gonna do. That's what
Yeah,
kind of
Mhm.
what happened to MixPose.
that makes sense. I just want to understand, when did you make that jump to MixPose?
Uh, was I think around maybe less than I don't know, around a little less than a year ago, because it was at a hackathon. We were last year that we were actually building the hackathon and up in the Bay Area, and then Sarah went down to LA, and then there was another hackathon down in LA that pays much more. They had 100 grand. No, yeah, they had $100,000 in total in pool money, and then we're like, okay, and then we can go down and build stuff on top of 5G. And then we're thinking,
Mhm.
what can we possibly build off 5G? And this is no, because I drive a Tesla, so the thing is, I for over 3 years I only drove 8,000 miles, and then I paid for 4 maintenance. So we're like, okay, I need to drive like a long distance trip just so that I can hit 10,000 miles, so I can like get the maintenance I paid for. That's how we
Mhm.
decided to drive down. On the way down, we just kept like me and Ethan, we just basically kept like bashing each other, going back and forth on ideas. And one of the ideas we start seeing is like, oh, now artificial intelligence can actually detect poses in a pretty accurate manner. Because before you have like these prototypes that's really just like proof of concept that don't work, right? But now you
Mm-hmm.
can actually detect like human poses. Like you can know this is a hand, this is a body, this is like a face. Before it was more face. You seen a lot of like facial, like hey, I'm smiling and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
to actual like get your skeletal of the pose, that was still very difficult.
Mm.
Right, right. So
Mhm.
you came up with that idea, right? I'm just want to
But we
understand.
kind of me and Ethan kind of came up with it together, because we were just keep pitching back and forth. This idea is like this, right? Like a raw idea is like very rough, and then you basically shape it. You got to play devil's advocate, and then little by little you basically get your idea to a little more solidified into like, okay, this is a proof of concept, right? This is an
Yeah.
idea that
Yeah.
I can pitch, and then we basically just pitch back and forth. And because the original idea was basically use 5G to teach people like to teach people in like Thailand and China and Japan how to learn English. This was such a big market. And then on the way down, while we thought that was a good idea, we found out Kobe Bryant at the time was invested in this company. It's like worth over $200 million doing exactly that. I'm like, okay, and what the hell, what is the point, right? This is like you have someone. This is like it's like an actual legitimate company that just got like 30 40 million dollar funding from Kobe Bryant, as well as a bunch of other celebrities basically teach it's like VIP kids and stuff like that. We're like, okay, there's no point of building that. Like, what else do
Mhm.
we do?
Yeah.
And then
So yeah, no, this is good, right? So you started with this proof of concept. You guys are hackers that rolled up the sleeves and did it, right? Where do you see that this could potentially be a business? This could be a real company.
So the hackathon we won, we got 60 grand out of their entire $100,000 budget. We got $60,000 out of it, and then it's for most hackathon we kind of just split the money, have fun with it, and then that's sort of what we did in the beginning. And then Google was hosting this Android challenge, like the Android developer challenge. And we're like, okay, like oh yeah. And the next was I'll build it on TV. I got $20,000 more off that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Google was basically hosting this Android developer challenge. So what we thought was, hey, like I can, like we didn't really have to do anything. We kind of already built this. So we just pushed out all of our code in there, and then Google, Google was selected 10 apps they want to build out of like
Mm-hmm.
486 like apps all across the world, like all from India, Africa, Europe, like everywhere, South America, and then we were the only U.S. team that was selected. And then
Mm.
we're like, wow, holy cow! And then the Google basically said, hey, if you get this,
Mhm.
like we want to launch this, you guys at Google I/O. And then you guys got to get this done in the Google I/O, and then if you can get this done very well, we can have like we can push for Sundar's keynote.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. What year was that Google I/O?
This year.
Oh, this year. Wow.
Yeah,
I was at a Google I/O in 2013 with one of my companies where we built a loyalty engine that got integrated into the Google
Mhm.
Wallet.
uh-huh.
So that was 2013. That was before Sundar was the CEO.
Mhm.
That's pretty.
Nice.
But
That's pretty
interesting.
cool. Yeah, because
So,
but what happened was right after was Google I/O got canceled. Because of the
Oh.
COVID-19. And then we're like, oh man, this kind of sucks. But by then we're already halfway through our Android app. We have like our AI engine. We can already detecting poses. We can already tell you what like we can tell 21 poses. Like it's with a different degree of accuracy. But I'll tell you on,
Mhm.
later on why it's useful. But at least on a gimmick level, it looks really cool that you're sort of doing pose detection. You're actually
Mhm.
you're actually drawing out all these points, and then the user will be like, wow, this is pretty cool stuff.
Mhm.
That's sort of what happened. And then Google basically told them, oh wow, we don't have Google I/O, but we can we can still launch you guys. We're gonna do this we're gonna do this we're gonna basically mail all of our influencers, and then they can basically go through all 10 apps and then see which one they can focus on.
Mhm.
And then we're like, yeah, we kind of already invested all this time in this, might as well just do it, right? And then the thing is with COVID-19 on the another funny thing is that in January, because we were doing user research interviews on whether we should even build this as a company, right? Our other route was just building something like, hey, like I just give you a sequence and then you just do it, hey, do a tree pose, do like warrior 2, hold warrior 2 for
Mhm.
5 seconds, and do warrior 1 and stuff like that. I mean, it's like it was, and we understood from very beginning there's no money in that. It may
Yeah.
sound like a
Mm-hmm.
cool idea, there's no money in that. But the thing
Right.
is,
Right.
but it does produce a cool demo.
I hear
Mhm.
you.
And all the other apps that want to do it, I was like, dude, just go ahead. I mean, there's no money in it. Like if you want to build, and because these days it's like it's easy to make an app. It's hard to actually make a business model. And what most app developers don't understand is because I've been through this for over a couple hundred times. Like I don't there's no way to lie to yourself at that point. The
Mhm.
magician don't believe his own magic at that point. You have to look at the raw data, right? So we were interviewing people, and then we were like trying to figure out, and then because in January, people like there's a lot of yoga teachers basically never heard of online yoga. They're like, and then when pandemic hits, by end of March, everybody's on teaching on Zoom. We're like, holy shit! I mean, this is
Mhm.
Yeah.
there now there is a market. Like now there's a proven market. People are actually paying, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, it's just amazing, right? With this pandemic, everything has moved online. And you see companies like ClassPass that have unicorns, right? Billion plus valuation. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden they have to take the membership of classes and make them available virtually. And I can totally
Mhm.
see how the technology plays in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So and also the January, while we interviewed for people, is like most people used to tell us is like, hey, like I will use it if it's cheap enough, and then I can take a class in the morning. Sometimes I get home, I'm lazy, I don't want to drive out anymore. I just want to take a class, and especially if the teacher that I know is on there, I will probably use it, right? And then, but the thing
Right.
is, the live class was still the main thing. And then by March, everyone was emailing, "Hey, didn't you work?" Like people we interviewed, right? This is like random people. You meet on Tinder just to for user research, and then because and then now they're emailing me. They're like, "Hey, like, weren't you building this app? Like, when can I sign up?" Like, I was like, dude, we were just playing with the technology, and then we basically, the group of like three of us were like, hey, like we basically start talking, and then we're like, okay,
Hmm.
we want to be serious about this, right? There's two routes. First, we gotta you have to build a platform. It's not gonna be easy, but then again, it's the only way. If you want to make it, you have to make it big, and you want to make money, you have to make it big. Otherwise, we just build a little demo for Google to be like, hey, do this pose, do a tree pose.
Yeah.
I give you 8 points for doing that tree pose, and eventually I give you a point. Like, just like very gimmicky, little app that doesn't really do much. And then we're like,
Hmm.
and then we decided, okay, like we there is there the biggest thing that we got out of this was that people no longer ask, why are you doing this? In January, everyone was asking us, why are you doing this? Right.
Hmm.
We're
Right.
like, dude, the market is growing. I mean, why not? I mean, that's sort of the answer. But now it's like, okay, you don't have to. That question is gone. The why question is gone.
Hmm. Did you know you wanted to do yoga when you thought about like the body, detection, or was it more because like, oh, the mindfulness industry is really booming, we want to get into that industry?
There was a few reasons. The first reason was we originally we actually pitched to we were going to be doing the yoga, fitness, as well as
Hmm.
dance.
Okay.
But the thing is, like initially you have to focus on the market. The original demo we showed was using yoga, because yoga is probably the best, uh, at least for a tech demo. It was the best case to see what these AI can do.
Hmm.
Compared to fitness, you kind of have I can count your squats. People like, I don't really care. I mean, I can wear my Apple Watch can tell me how much squats I'm doing, how much dumbbells I'm doing, right? And then dance is on the other side is a lot more difficult. It's not something. And also, a lot of dance, like we still haven't figured even like the Zumba you can do, but then again, you start teaching salsa, it's going to get very,
Hmm.
very difficult. It's like the technology is not really mature enough to. I mean, you can do street dance, but then again, it's like if you're gonna do dance in terms of business, then the technology needs to be a little more mature. When two people are dancing together, you have to be able to
Yeah.
figure out what, that becomes more difficult. And yoga was like a perfect fit. All right. And also another thing is, like, initially when we launch the product, when there's no users, we have to step in for the class, right? Because otherwise teacher will be like, what is going on? Right
Hmm.
now, I mean, we already crossed that stage, but because initially you just bug your friends and family like, hey, join the class, blah 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 blah, and it was like, dude, because we're paying the teachers, we're paying for the servers, we're paying for all the CDN, and it's just like you have to build the ecosystem around, right? And now, like,
Right.
once we have enough, like, it's actually the majority of the retained user now. So we kind of don't, you just we still playing with the numbers to
Hmm.
last week we finally switched to subscription model. So actually
Okay.
people are paying now. Before that was just kind of free, because I mean, you saw the problem. It's like when the crashes starts, it's like that was the biggest
Hmm.
challenge. It's like when the crashes starts, it's like people, like, you don't retain any users.
Sure.
Especially when the first user come in, like, what is going on? They never come back.
And how did you create the name MixPose? Where did that come about?
Originally we were named it Fitstream, and then we're
Okay.
like, that doesn't. So when we were launching the app, well, like, in February, well, first of all, that's it's trademarked by some British company, and
Mm.
second of all, we're like, that's sort of like more fitness oriented. You want to make it more yoga oriented, and you also have to make sure that it doesn't. You can add on different things in the future, right? You don't want to be like something yoga, and now you want to do dance. You can't do dance anymore. You
Mhm.
can't be. I'm going to this mixyoga.com to learn how to fitness. So it makes it very hard to expand. So when you do
Mhm.
mixed pose, is more focused on the pose detection itself.
Mm.
Got it.
Interesting. Very cool, actually. I like it a lot. So this is I think your timing's working out right. You're getting some traction, and you just mentioned people have started paying, and you have opened up the subscription model. Where is the company today? What's keeping you busy right now?
Well, so I explained to Natalie earlier, like when I was telling her to teach on the platform, is like we have three phases. First phase is just getting the things ready, right? Because it was initially was initially was just not ready. It was just like when we actually wanted to make money from day one. But in order to produce the highest quality because content, right? You can't just use Zoom anymore. You have to start using broadcasting software along with music encoding. So you're encoding movie in real time, right? So this then that creates technology challenges. So this, but we the first phase is getting all the teacher on board in batches, and then so they actually learn how to do this. And once that happens, then the second phase is basically subscription, which is current. We just started. Like I still have to build the payment portal on the web, and the third phase is basically the independent classes. So teacher can teach the independent classes, and then they can get paid per person.
Yeah. No, I get it, right? So teachers are paying for it. You're going after the teachers,
No,
right?
no, no. I'm going after the users. Because the one of the hard part when we interviewed tons of teachers back in January, one thing we found out is like most teachers told us like we told, hey, we can promote you on Instagram, we can like have high quality videos showed for you and all this stuff, and they're like they don't really care. All they really want is teach a good class and get paid.
Right.
So we're like, oh, because there are other services out there. It's like it's not really nowhere's really doing exactly what we're doing, but there's other services like kind of similar. They kind of manage your schedule. They basically put your Zoom class in ready and stuff like that. That's why I was like, investor asked us like, hey, are you guys one of those? I'm like, no, because they don't draw the teacher users. We do. We're gonna be taking on the responsibility of getting you users, and how we do it. We do have complete different set of tools. AI is just one of them.
Got it. Got it. So it seems like the users are paying for the subscription, right?
Yeah.
To the platform.
Yeah, and then in the initial phase, we just pay teacher like a flat fee. So they're on board, and then they can basically. It's really. I mean, right now most teacher on the platform is ready. That's why we're ready for the second batch, but the software is not ready for them to host their own classes yet. The point is that so they get used to the software. They get used to how to host like premium level class. And then after that, they gain the followers on the platform. So when they host their own class, they can draw these followers into their own like private independent classes. And in
no, go ahead.
So in the independent classes where they can get paid per person.
Yeah,
right.
I know that makes sense. And the value proposition for the user is that you can look at the pose, detect the pose, and better your pose,
And
even if you're home, right?
That's even gimmicky. We tell our competitor to do it just because it will waste their time. But that's really gimmicky on the side. So it's gimmicky on the user side because it is cool to see. You kind of see your poses. You kind of see, oh, I'm doing warrior too. Holy shit! This app knows what I'm like my actual pose. But in reality, these are only useful when you actually have crowd. When you have crowd, how would I say this? When you have crowd analytics. On teacher side, they become useful when you have 100 students in your class. There's no way you're gonna watch 100 students.
Yeah.
This is where AI really comes in helpful. If you're on a pose and then you can see all the other students actually wrong pose, so they can show up on your screen on a higher priority, so you can give them more attention. And also you have this crowd analytics. You're like, okay, 20 people are doing warrior, 3 people are doing this like weird other pose, like doing a tree. I'm gonna click on the tree and see what 3 of them are doing.
So it's more for the instructor to better engage.
Yep, that's a goal of this. When right now it's like 6 to 9 people show their camera, which is still fine. Teacher can kind of still watch over, right? But as soon as you hit like 20 people, it's 20 people in the class, but only like 6 to 9 people show camera. But as soon as you hit like 20 people all showing like more than 20 people showing camera, you don't have the option. You don't have the privilege of looking at everyone anymore.
Yeah.
Even if you have like a 4K television, you got to be like, what is going on?
Right. But with the AI, it can help you see who's closer, who's not even doing that pose, right?
Yeah, and who's out? I mean, I get called out because the thing is, when the engagement comes in, when you're going to bathroom, you actually, you kind of like think about this. The teacher could call you, is like, hey, come back to your mat. You're like, oh crap, let me go back to my mat.
Yeah.
It can make it safer in a sense.
Yeah.
It's safer for people by correcting them if you can't be in person.
Yep.
You're solving a great problem, right? Because one of the reasons why people need that physical place to go and do yoga is because the teacher can walk around and they can correct your pose and tell you if you're doing things wrong or if you're falling behind. And you missed that in the virtual, but with your technology and how you're using AI with recognition and post recognition, that's a huge value there, I see.
Yeah, we build tons of, like, there's no one thing that we do that makes us like different. There's like tons of little things that we do that makes us like a lot more different than
Mhm.
all the other platforms.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then then the AI is just really one of them. It's one
Mhm.
is
What
one.
are some of the other things you do?
So, for example, we have privacy thing so that you can join a private class. You can join a private channel just so that only teacher sees you. No, in the public channel, you see everyone else, but else sees you as well. But you can turn off your
Hmm.
camera, you can see everyone else, or you can join a friends group, which only friends see you.
Mm.
Interesting.
That's another feature, and then and the third feature is like we are cast. So the teacher is broadcasting to the students in high quality video. Because right now these days you have Zoom yoga, which is like these low quality, which is like, it's they say 720p, but it's highly compressed. It's not really, the quality is just not like in place. And and the other side, you have like these apps like Allo, Peloton. You have YouTube, like some teacher, like,
Mhm.
yoga with Adrienne.
Hmm.
She got it
Mhm.
down, the YouTube casting, which is just one way. There's no interactiveness. So how
Mhm.
we are kind of combine that into one, right? So the teacher broadcasting and then because of this, we can actually scale up to like 1,000, 2,000 students in the future without much problem. Because right now
Mhm.
is really just working out the little details. Because technology, I mean, on the screen, if I don't need to display 20 people. Like right now, like Natalie probably saw, you can see six. You can see six to
Mhm.
nine at a time, depends on how big your screen is. If you have a little
Mhm.
MacBook Air, you can see six. But then again,
Mhm.
it's if you when you see 25, you don't see anyone. That's a problem. Like
Mhm.
we build these things in specifically for the students, just so that so you at least now you can give like six people attention.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Right. How have you seen it evolve since COVID? Like, have you had to tweak anything? Has it like really changed the process for you and your vision, or has COVID just been an asset for you?
COVID became more of an asset because
Mhm.
before COVID, we were still debating whether like let's do part
Mhm.
time or full time. After COVID, we're like,
Mhm.
okay, like we just quit our jobs.
Yeah.
Let's work on this. We need to work on this. It's like, because I mean, they're
Mhm.
like, when people are willing to pay Zoom yoga, we're like, okay, this the people are willing to pay, right? And then
Right.
Yeah.
then when we build our platform, like, hey, because people like, some yoga teacher ask like, hey, why can't you be like Allo Yoga? I'm like, dude, like 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 one core difference is like, what can they do for you?
Mhm.
What can Peloton and Allo Yoga do for you as a teacher?
Hmm.
Like we can increase your quality of your content. We can get your followers, and the most important part, we can get you paid. At least the vision of it is goes that way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, that makes sense, right? So this is interesting, right? This is great. Have you raised a VC funding since
We
you quit your
we
job or
we
self-funded?
turned, well, we sort of bootstrapping around. We did turn down a $6 million evaluation because we wanted 10. This is back in June.
Hmm.
And because the thing is, we do have we do have another VC basically come in. This is, there'll be 20 million if you reach 1,000 subscriber, which is the 20,000 MRR. And between the teams, we're giving up $14 million in valuation, just like on something that we can do. Because with that $600,000, I we like the like it doesn't would it help on our next milestone, right? It really just get to the next milestone, which is just the 20,000 MRR.
Yeah.
And that's a target we're basically trying to hit. And then yeah, because right now we just started. I think we can probably, we have a 1.1 million email from my co-founder's last startup, a fitness startup. So that also helps too. Which was like, with that, we can, like, if we can hit that ourselves, why are we taking the money, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
No,
then
it's always best if you can do it without.
yeah, and
But
then and then
how are you
once
marketing? How are you reaching out to market? How are you growing your base?
there's like 6 7 different channels we do now. In the beginning, was just like literally our friends and family, was just like you kind of bug them.
Yeah.
And then eventually you ask a local, you partner up with like a local events and stuff like that. And then you also build a little Facebook group that have over almost like 1,000 people now. It's like 900, 130 some people now.
Got
and
it.
people do come to classes, but because it's free classes. And then the thing is, like, now you probably realize the moment you go to this class and you go to some normal Zoom classes, it's just very different experience.
No,
You
it
feel
was
like
good. It was a really good class too. The
it,
instructor was great. The video quality was great. Like they had that sense of community. I think like only one person had their video off, but everyone had their video on.
yeah, because the thing is like once you go through this, it's like you go through another like regular Zoom level. You're like, wow, I'm getting ripped off, and
Hmm.
this is not quality. And the biggest thing is like we're gonna work teachers in batches, so this way
Yeah.
they can come. And like once like sort of teacher kind of it takes probably 6 weeks to get used to it. If you do
Hmm.
two classes a week, is gonna probably take you like 4 weeks. Once you get used to it, you sort of on your own. Like you can teach your independent classes. We can still give you like one or two subscription class, and then eventually when teacher gets too much, we're just gonna give teacher like each teacher one subscription class. Like hey, and then you can teach your community class along the way, which you want, and then you can
Hmm.
charge them yourself, and you don't really care. But once
Right.
independent class, once independent class kicks in, this is not like you're dipping to our users now. And if the cost level is not there, because I mean, it's just a lot of tech in there, and if the quality if the quality is not there, then it's like we can start losing users. That's why I was like it has to be going through the steps, which is
Yeah.
which is also the hardest part of the scaling this, because I like in July I was a little my full-time job was just like tech support. I'm teaching yoga teachers how to use game streaming software.
Hmm.
That's part of the process, right? So it's Facebook group that's driving most of the traffic, or do you already doing other things now?
There's tons of other things, so we don't really know where most users come from anymore. It's like it's too scattered.
Yeah.
There's a couple of channels that we do, and this is all. And the local press channel is also like I stopped hitting them, but I don't know like then also there's in local governments they also host this stuff around this as well.
So you're doing digital marketing and you're doing offline, right?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
both ways, and also the tech partners we have they do promote
Hmm.
this as well, right? Like
Mm.
Let's talk about
Intel.
the tech partners for a second. What type of relationship you have with the partners, and what do you do?
I'm part of the fellowship in. I'm sort of a developer whore, so you kind of sleep with all the companies. So I'm part of like Intel software innovator. I'm part of the ARM innovator. I'm part of NVIDIA's AI innovator. Because I do different projects with different tech partners, and
Hmm.
yeah, I used to be part of Samsung Champion as well. So each one, and Agora, we're part of the Agora startups. So like they've been helping a lot. So they give us things from all the way from like free credits down to actual actual promotion of our stuff. Like Agora,
Mm.
Agora basically like one post is like you draw like 1,000 views, and then from there you get, like probably 100 hits. And then we were also sponsoring the yoga class in their conference
Mm.
Yeah.
in
No, I can
return.
I can totally see the partnership with NVIDIA and ARM could be very, very beneficial, and now them coming together, I can totally see why they should invest in you.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's logical. Now, let's talk about where the future is heading. And there's a lot of interesting stuff that happened during this pandemic. You have seen Peloton stocks take off. You have seen Mirror got acquired by Lululemon, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
And we're going more into that world where people can work out from home without losing that interaction, whether it's a mirror, whether it's a Peloton machine. And I can totally see your technology playing into it, in a very complementary way. Even I can see it as a standalone platform, but I can totally see it complementing and augmenting the Pelotons of the world or the mirrors of the world that are out there today. So, wanted to get your reaction. What are your thoughts on what's out there, and how do you see them?
So what's the most content out there are video on demand. As you
Hmm.
can see, even Apple Fit they came up with this is really video on demand. We thought about this as well. We're like, yeah, but then again, we're in video on demand. We're really like 5 years late. If we were to build a platform of video on demand, we had to build it 5 years ago, and now it's like you're in a perfect situation, perfect storm. And
Hmm.
what's coming up is like next step is really live streaming, right? In with especially with the enablement of 5G, for live streaming will become more and more stable,
Hmm.
right? And then Facebook is moving to live. I mean, the thing is, especially this is classes, so you have to provide the content that it's like this. Once you watch NBA live, and now watch a replay, it becomes the experience that the connectiveness is very different. We basically that's why we kind of want to focus more on like because it is hard. This stuff is hard. This stuff like in the middle crashes, you have to have different like because each teacher have some of them using pretty old computer, so you have to like figure out what is the best way and what is the best quality that you can kind of do all this, right? And obviously in the future we would be a little more like selective on the teachers, like especially initial phase. It's like if you want to use this platform, sure, but then again, we do have tech requirements. We do have like things that you can't be running like a 2012 computer. That just doesn't like it's not going to cut it. It's the entire encoding, entire things like that. But most competitors we do see is they're still focusing on video on demand. I guess there is a market in it. I mean, I don't doubt there's a market in it. But then again, it's like that's not. It's like Twitch. When Twitch came out, is you focus on live stream. Just as a base, you start focusing on live stream. Then from there, you change the entire industry. Now the entire industry is towards live stream. But fitness,
no, keep going. Fitness wise.
But fitness wise is still. I mean, the biggest competitor right now is Zoom Yoga. I mean, that's you're basically then it's not really built for it. It's built for video conferencing.
Do you see that expanding from yoga, like in 5 years from now, like what you were saying before? Like I know you had dance in mind, but maybe not dance is the main focus at the moment. It's more mindfulness, but
in 5 years, when we are still, if we're still around, and then all these when live stream is already like the standard. Because by then you will see like Apple Fitness will be like we either get acquired or something else, and then we can become another. It's like Twitch after being sold for $1 billion now is worth like $5 billion. So you can see it's like it's worth 15 billion or something now. It's like after Amazon bought it. So in 5 years we either become the dominator or at least we can become like a very solidified market player, right? And then by then if you want to start doing live stream. It's you're like, dude, this is way too late. You should have done this 5 years ago.
Right.
Because low latency HLS, the standard literally just came out in June. Now there's like that's Apple standard. That's what the most people are using. Like there's still a lot of the technology is not really mature. But the thing is, just having this like current standard, even without the mature product. I mean, it's still better experience for most people than playing just a video. That's why people go to your Zoom classes because they want to feel that connectiveness.
And what are your advice for people who maybe are interested in getting into mindfulness and AI for entrepreneurs?
AI is very easy to learn. I mean, it's the people make it a big deal, but it's very easy to learn. But the thing is to find, so like again, right now, like I said, right, most AI, it's very gimmicky. It's very good to make a product demo because I make product demo for a living sort of. But in order, I mean, the biggest advice is like, in order to actually take this forward, you have to look at it from business perspective first. And you can't lie to yourself. That's the thing. When you know this is a demo, you have to like, oh, this is a demo. Let me move on to the next thing. You can use this demo to get you some clients, which is exactly what I was doing. To pay you to pay your bills. Everybody can pay their bills, but to actually fully invest, you just go through the user research. I think that's easy. That's probably the best way. And if they're in the hackathons, just understand that winning a hackathon isn't the goal. The goal is how do you build relationship over time so you can actually have a team when you want to do because I used to solo at hackathons. I just take all the money myself. And on the surface it's very good, right? You make 20 grand, you're like, wow, I'm pretty happy I made 20 grand. But in reality is that you lose chance of actually building connections with people, especially trusting people with money, because they trust me with money. It's like if we win like 50 grand, they wouldn't doubt me. I would pay them. Right. These are things, but once you build trust over time, like you understand each other's strength and weakness, you understand each other's style, and then this is building. And then when you actually want to build a startup, you can actually get some people to build startup with you. I mean, otherwise, what are you going to do? Go to network meetings? I'm like, hi, you want to be my co-founder? I mean, like it doesn't work that way.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. Right. That's a very, very valuable advice. Last question we have for you is, if you were, I know there's a lot that has happened for you very, very quickly in last 1 year here. So if you were to just look back at the year, is there anything you would do differently based
Uh,
on what you have learned?
I mean, if I know what was going to happen, we would have just started building this stuff right after hackathon, like full time. By March, I will have a product ready. But
Mhm.
instead, we were sort of just like we're still like just like, hey, we're doing our own thing. Like, yeah, you win 20 grand. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of money that you it's like you go spend and have fun with. But
Mhm.
the COVID is really that was decision. That was sort of like the spark of decision. If I were to do things differently, I would have just invest time on this all alone. But then again, there's like
Mhm.
when the timing is not right, it's really difficult for. At the end of the day, it's all about your time commitment.
Mhm.
That is true.
And
Yeah,
do
I wouldn't.
you did
Mhm.
go ahead?
I'm just yeah, I'm just saying like because of the COVID situation, I can't really say like if I were to now knowing what happened, the hindsight is
Mhm.
100%. But at the time,
Exactly.
you don't know this is gonna happen. I mean,
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you have a mindfulness practice in play before diving into the yoga industry?
yeah,
Or
I mean
did you mindfulness?
I've been practicing yoga for past like 5 6 years.
Oh, great.
Uh, yeah, that's the thing. So that's why I was like, hey, and then same with my co-founders, and then
Mhm.
Sarah is actually trying to get her certificate.
Mhm.
So that's sort of the we did have a yoga background. That's why we're like we don't have any dance background. And fitness wise was
Mhm.
like I mean fitness is just that I can only work out once a day, right? I can't be like I'm a,
Yeah.
like in the
So
beginning when you
broad.
host 2 classes, it's like it's a much more, and eventually when you move eventually if the because yoga itself is also big enough of a market. Once you get in fitness, this is all sorts of like weird competition that you would never think. It's like
Yeah.
there's so many IoT devices, smart dumbbells down to smart shoes. And it's very it's like it's what Peloton have they did a really good job. Like they made a gym experience, right? They made it like
Mhm.
so when their entire theme is like this is a home gym, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
you have that
Mhm.
from the very start, and then from us, we want to be like this is a like we were like this is more of like a interpersonal relationship. That's
Mhm.
how sort of
I
our
love it.
theme is. So you basically create relationship with your teacher. So your teacher can be in the
Mhm.
waterfall, your teacher can be anywhere, and it will still feel like it's more like oh I'm in this teacher's class
Mhm.
r-
Exactly.
rather than I'm going to the studio. That's sort of the thing that's sort of the at least the look and feel that we want to create.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, Peter, that is absolutely amazing. What you're doing is very, very powerful. And we wish you all the success. And we hope to bring you back in maybe a year and a half from now
Sure, I mean if we're
when
still
your
around.
marketplace has exploded.
Mhm.
Yeah, good luck. Best of luck with everything. And thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Much appreciated.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Ari, thank you, Nat.
Yep.